Hey there, Madison. I'm just taking a look at your magazine spread here. Just open it up. First of all, the thing that is really jumping out to me is your typography. I love this font here. It looks really good. Um, Usually when you have it so close to being justified, like right aligned here on the edge and right aligned here on the edge and left aligned here, I would probably make it totally justified just so you have a nice crisp line. See how this edge almost lines up with the N? It probably does, but over here it doesn't line up with the edge of the O. So just kind of make it a really cool box of type. Alternately, I would probably recommend doing that with this line no matter what, but alternately, you could make glimpses a little bit bigger so it totally overlaps. Um, and then have this section down here be justified. You could play around with trying a different color for glimpses too. That might be kind of neat since you have it overlapping down here. It would kind of differentiate the black of like the P and the black of the E a little bit more. Maybe like a yellow or something else, that another color that you have that's going to pop up in your scheme. I like this picture. You have a Spencer W. Kimball here with a nice text wrap that looks really good. Um, your columns look nice. There's a good amount of space around them. These subheadings look nice as well. Repeating typography, so that's good. If you can, try to get these few words over here with this section, or maybe bump this line so it's up here too. You want to avoid having just one line at the top of a column. Okay, this looks pretty neat. I like your transparent shapes in the background. That looks really good. Um, Make sure you have an end quote here after your end quotation mark after your quote. I would play around with a different type here as well, especially these quotation marks looking super aggressive and big. I'd at least decrease the font size. Maybe try them in a serif. Sometimes you can use a different type for your quotation marks if they're like looking overly assertive. That might kind of help them blend in a little bit more if you decide to keep this type, but it might be fun to go back to this type as long as it's legible, which I think it probably would be. Um, Not sure what's happening with the quotation marks here. Double quotation, or wait, triple. Oh, okay, I see what's going on. It's just a quote, somebody talking inside a quote. Okay. Um, let's see if there's anything else that's just jumping out to my eye. I'd probably minimize this. You don't really need to draw attention to this. You could keep it in this nice sans serif, but it doesn't have to be bolded. I would probably still left align it or right align it. One cool thing you could do also with your paragraphs, right now they're left aligned. Now, there is a justified alignment that is to the far side. It usually on your paragraph palette have left aligned, center aligned, right aligned, and then one that looks like a box. Now, let me just show you real quick what justified alignment looks like. Okay, so it would take, this is what you're doing right now, flush left, and it has a ragged right. So justified is going to make it look boxy like this, which would be a kind of cool look for your design because it's so nice and tidy. Okay, let me see. I was going to see if I could show you just real quick. Here's what. Okay, so here is what it's going to look like. You would select this one, and that would allow that last line to not get too crazy with the amount of spaces in between it. And you can play around with your justification settings. Kind of have look something like this, although they'll probably automatically be populated like that. But that might make your design look even more crisp and contemporary since it's already so much on the way to the right track. But yeah, you're off to a really good start. Okay, oh, your images. Okay, so you took this one and this one? Remember, you do have to have two images that you have taken yourself. So make sure you're hitting that requirement. I, unless you tell me otherwise, would be inclined to think you didn't take this one. But if you did, I'd get a chance to see that on your draft report. Okay, so just make sure you're hitting that minimum requirement. But otherwise, you're off to a great start. This is looking really good. The only thing I might say is just something that isn't really, it's just an intuition thing for me. I might make this a little bit smaller and space out um, the amount of space between each of these letters. Um, Play with the kerning a little bit on that. That might help it. Or wait, is that letting? Sometimes I get the two of those confused. Let's see. Important. Kerning is the space between individual letters. Yep. Okay, the kerning. So the kerning, you want to have a little bit more space between these maybe. You could play around with that in the character palette. And I would maybe make it a little bit smaller type as well. It'd look extra cool if you could kind of get it spaced perfectly under this line, but there may be a little bit too much space over to the sides for it to look organic. All right. But you're off to a really, really good start. I'm looking forward to seeing your final design. Thanks, Madison.